Yo, what's up guys? Today I'm here with a basic guide. It's a competitive but a very basic guide on win conditions, how to find out your win condition, and basically how to apply it. So I'm going to explain what it is first for those of you that do not know. A lot of people think that a win condition is basically one mon. Let's say my opponent is very weak to Talonflame, so Talonflame is my win condition. That's honestly just part of it. Really a win condition is something that just helps you win the battle in the end. So it could be anything from taking out my opponent's T-Tar, that way, or Tyranitar for those of you that don't know what T-Tar is, Tyranitar for my Talonflame to clean sweep, as the remaining 5 members on his team are very, very weak to Talonflame, meaning they die to Brave Bird. Or it can also be just getting rid of or weakening a certain Pokemon, that way another Pokemon can come through. But in order to know your win condition, you also have to know your opponent's win condition. So that's why team preview is actually very important, as we could see your opponent's Pokemon as well as your own lined up against each other. So the reason you have to keep that in mind is if your opponent can get rid of your Pokemon that stops his win condition, being, let's say, the same Talonflame example, if your team is really weak to Talonflame, Exhibit A, the team on the screen, and my opponent gets rid of my Landorus T, then their Talonflame will have a field day versus mine, unless my Talonflame, of course, can outspeed him because I am Jolly Max Speed. So you really have to think about what your opponent's win condition is, how you're going to get rid of it, and then see what you can threaten their team after you basically get rid of their threat. And a lot of people make the mistake of playing by instinct. That doesn't really work. Like you say, oh, okay, fire switches into grass, I could do this, yada yada yada. But you really do have to think long term, because if I let a said Pokemon get weakened, and again the Talonflame example, if I let Landorus T get super weakened, Talonflame can of course sweep me. So you really do have to think long term. In order to know your win conditions, you have to think long term. Basically, you have to think of scenarios where you can get your opponent to send out a certain Pokemon and basically have your own Pokemon get rid of it. So we're going to be looking at the screen right now with the team that you guys have basically just been seeing this entire time. As you can see, my opponent's team is very, very threatening. First off, I noticed right off the bat, just at team preview, that he does not have a switch into Keldeo. Whenever Keldeo comes out, especially because mine is Choice Scarf, it basically gets the fire off of free Scald, and he does not have a resistance to Scald. So Scald, and of course having the burn chance, is really going to be helping me in this battle. So one thing I can say about just team preview is play very aggressive with Keldeo. Try to bring it in on doubles or safe U-turns from my Landorus T, and then just spam Scald. So that's one thing I can know. Notes. Another thing is that my Heracross doesn't really have very many switch-ins at all. His own being his own Landorus T. So basically, I can bring in Heracross probably for free versus Tyranitar, or at least have it in and either get a kill or just weaken his team severely. And by weakening Landorus T as well as Raikou and Terrakion, because I don't really have the opportunity to set up with my Talonflame much versus said Pokemon, such as Raikou threatening me with Thunderbolt, Terrakion threatens me with the Stone Edge, same thing with T-Tar, same thing with Landorus, and his Tone Talonflame could potentially speed tie. My best bet is weakening his team for my Talonflame to either clean up and or find an opportunity, that way I can set up on his Scizor, as Scizor would be the one Pokemon that Talonflame can come through. So my opponent's win condition is probably going to be his own Talonflame, just because my only real switch-in to his Talonflame is my own Landorus T. Now, because my opponent has a bunch of heavy physical hitters, such as his own Landorus T, Terrakion, T-Tar, even Scizor, my Landorus T is really going to be pressured in this battle. So the way I'm going to play, I'll probably have to sack some Pokemon that don't have much use in this game, as opposed to going directly into Landorus T. And I do have to watch out for his Raikou, because his Raikou does outspeed my entire team, bar my Keldeo and my Talonflame, and I do need prior damage on Raikou, that way my Talonflame can get rid of it. The good thing is that my opponent doesn't know is that my Jirachi is actually Shook a Berry which means that it can take an earthquake, and I do have Icy Wind to knock out or even weaken Landorus T for my own Talonflame or my Heracross, as well as HP Fire for Scizor, Stealth Rock, not Stealth Rock, no, because my Landorus T is defensive, which is good in this battle just because it's definitely going to be pressured. I have HP Fire and Icy Wind, Iron Head, and my last move is, what is it, Body Slam? Something like that. Anyway, that's basically my Jirachi set right there, and it actually puts a good number of work on my opponent's team just because I lure Landorus T, if it is offensive Landorus T, just because T-Tar could be a Stealth Rocker or even Terrakion, I can Icy Wind it, either knock it out or weaken it completely for my Heracross and my Talonflame to just keep spamming moves, and he'll have to basically sack whenever my Heracross comes in, though Heracross of course is not that reliable just because it's easily weakened by what my opponent has. So I'm going to say it once again, Keldeo is probably going to be, well, my win condition is more than likely just keeping Landorus T alive, that way I can take on Talonflame, keeping my Talonflame alive, that way I can also take on his Talonflame, and just being very aggressive with my Keldeo, bringing it in on doubles, bringing it in on safe U-turns, sacrificing maybe getting a kill, that way I can bring it in to weaken a certain mon, and I think, yeah, that's it. I gotta be careful around his Raikou, as I really don't have a switch in for that. Raikou can definitely be a problem, though Latios takes it on, but of course Pursuit T-Tar is a thing, and my Latios can just die, though the second he pursuits me, that gives me a free switch into Keldeo, and I just click Scald once again. So that's, I really have to just weaken his team with Keldeo and keep my Talonflame alive, that way I can check his own Talonflame, as well as potentially just come through. So that's a very, very, very basic and quick guide to knowing your win conditions. You definitely do have to practice, know what Pokemon do, that way you know how they threaten you and what they can do. I do advise laddering, that way you find out how the metagame is, what Pokemon do, maybe doing some research on certain Pokemon. These are all very basic Pokemon though. Just looking at my opponent's team, it's offensive as hell, so it's more than likely SD offensive Scizor, either Scarf or defensive Landorus, SD Talonflame or Banded, Assault Vest or Specs Raikou. This could either be Stealth Rock Terrakion, if not then Landorus T is a Stealth Rocker, and this might be Scarf T-Tar if Landorus T is Stealth Rocker. It's really just knowing, just based on your prior knowledge, what your opponent has and how you can deal with it. So that's basically a very, very basic guide. I hope you guys can understand me. I know I'm not the best at explaining this stuff, but that's it, guys. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Very much do appreciate it. Feel free to leave any comments or questions or concerns, and I believe that's it. So yeah, later, guys.